You're watching KSG News, where you get the shortest, the most concise, and informative videos for your exam preparations. We begin with GS Paper 3. This is in connection with quantum technology. For the first time in India, scientists part of the quantum experiments using satellite technology project from the Raman Research Institute have claimed a breakthrough that will enable safe communications across strategic sectors ranging from banking to defense. Scientists claim that this will be an important stepping stone towards the center's vision of connecting up different nodes in the country through free space and fiber-based channels. This is poised to revolutionize security for strategic sectors like banking, defense services, cybersecurity, as well as for applications involving the common man, which need to be kept safe from unwanted intrusions. Working on quantum cryptography, that is, encrypting a message in a way nobody can read it at the quantum, the scientists have demonstrated the ability to share this secret key safely to another building using satellites. Quest, carried out by RRI's Quantum Information and Computing Lab, led by Professor Urbasi Sinha, is India's first project on satellite-based long-distance quantum communication. Started in 2017, Quest is being implemented in collaboration with the ISRO. In 2020, Sinha's team had developed a toolkit that enables safe quantum keys distribution, that is, the transfer of secret key that allows reading of encrypted messages safely between devices. This is India's first reported free space quantum key distribution experiment, which connects two buildings using an atmospheric channel. This is a breakthrough milestone for the Quest, as this will pave the way for longer distances using atmospheric channels, ultimately culminating with ground to satellite-based secure quantum communications. The breakthrough assumes importance because quantum technologies are poised to revolutionize life as we know it. Quantum computers are vulnerable. Shifting focus to GS Paper 3, this is in relation to space technology. Chandrayaan 3, India's third mission to the moon, is likely to be launched in 2022. This is according to ISRO Chief K. Sivan. The COVID-19 lockdown has hit several projects of the Indian Space Research Organization. Chandrayaan 3 is also one of them. It was scheduled to be launched in late 2020, and Gaganyaan, the country's first manned space mission. Unlike its predecessor, Chandrayaan 3 will not have an orbiter. It is the same configuration like Chandrayaan 2, but it will not have an orbiter. The orbiter launched during Chandrayaan 2 will be used for Chandrayaan 3. With that, they are working on a system, and mostly the launch will be next year. Chandrayaan 2, aimed at landing a rover on uncharted lunar South Pole, was launched on 22nd July 2019 on board the country's most powerful geosynchronous launch vehicle. The lander Vikram has hard landed on 7 September 2019, crashing India's dream to become the first nation to successfully land on the lunar surface in its maiden attempt. Chandrayaan 3 is critical for ISRO, as it will demonstrate India's capabilities to make landing for further interplanetary missions. ISRO is targeting December to launch the first unmanned mission under the Gaganyaan project. The mission was originally scheduled to launch in December last year. It will be followed by another unmanned mission, and the third leg is the main module. Gaganyaan envisages to send 3 Indians to space by 2022. The 4 test pilots selected for the mission are currently undergoing training in Russia. And now moving on to GS Paper 3, this is in connection with energy. The centre plans to permit sale of 50% of coal or lignite produced by captive blocks, a move aimed at augmenting the production and increasing the availability of dry fuel. The government plans to do so through incorporation of a provision in the Mines and Minerals Act 1957. Now, what does this mean? In the note for consultation of the Ministry of Mines, it is proposed to incorporate a provision in the Act to allow sale of 50% of coal or lignite produced by captive mines on an annual basis. Further, an additional amount will be charged on the merchant sales of coal or lignite by the captive miners. This is what the Coal Ministry has said. The Ministry of Mines has also invited comments of the state governments, among others, on the proposals for additional amendments being considered in the MMDR Act. In India, the import of coal is increasing on a yearly basis. In 2015 to 2016, the country imported 203.95 million tons of coal, which was increased to 248.54 MT in 2019 to 2020, and consequent spending of around 1.58 lakh crore in foreign exchange. Coal being an important input for various core sector industries, increasing availability of coal will lead to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Allowing sale of coal from captive mines will help in increase in the production of fossil fuel from captive mines and increase the availability of dry fuel in the market, leading to reduction in import of coal. In the note for consultation of the Ministry of Mines, it is proposed to charge an additional amount on grant and extension of mining leases of both coal and non-coal government companies. Shifting focus to GS Paper 2, this is in connection with international relations. American security contractor Eric Prince, a close ally of former US President Donald Trump, violated the UN arms embargo against Libya along with 3 United Arab Emirates-based companies and their top managers during an operation to help a rebel military commander take the capital Tripoli. Now, this is according to the experts from UN. In a key section of a report to the UN Security Council obtained on 21st February 2021, the panel of experts outlined a well-funded private military company operation called Project Opus, designed to provide military equipment to Eastern-based commander Khalifa Haftar. The Project Opus plan also included a component to kidnap or terminate individuals regarded as high-value targets. Oil-rich Libya was plunged into chaos after 2011 NATO-backed uprising toppled longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi and split the country between a UN-supported government in Tripoli and rival authorities based in the country's east, each side backed by an array of local militias as well as regional and foreign powers. In April 2019, Haftar and his forces, backed by Egypt and the UAE, launched an offensive to try and capture Tripoli. His campaign collapsed after Turkey stepped up its military support of the UN-supported government with hundreds of troops and thousands of Syrian mercenaries. The panel of experts reported it identified Project Opus in June 2019. It was designed to have private military companies provide Haftar's forces with armed assault rotary wing aviation, intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft, maritime interdiction, cyber, UAV, and intelligence fusion and targeting capabilities. This required the Project Opus team to initiate a contingency plan to rapidly identify and procure new aircraft. That's it on KSG News in this edition. Stay tuned for more such informative videos for your exam preparations.